the responsible thing to do. Maintaining that will allow me to carry on, instructing officers to do wonderful things like buying lots of new properties so that we can stop people having to be moved out of borough when they're homeless, so we can provide more wraparound services for people who are street homeless, and so we can carry on, building this pipeline, because Thurrock is now building again. We're going to get rid of the Blackshot Towers, and we're going to build a lovely new development for the people that live in Blackshots, places that they deserve to live. We're going to look into regenerating some of the most dilapidated estates around Thurrock. But to do that, the service needs to be properly funded. So with that, I put this report to you and I say, please support these changes, because, like I say, it's not something I do with any pleasure, but it's something that is necessary to maintain the integrity, the quality and the ambition of the service, and give people in Thurrock the housing services that they deserve. Can I present that report?
Thank you, Councillor Spillman. Any questions from Cabinet? Councillor Ed.
Not a question as such, but I just think to underscore Councillor Spillman's point around, if we do not do this, then the same pocket of money that we had this time last year will simply not go as far as it did in the next year. And we are now at a 30-year high, I think, in terms of inflation. So I was like, whatever I was, 4 or 5, whatever I was when it was like that. But that's the context of this.
Yeah.
That's the context of this, and where it has gone to, and how it's spiked up in the last 12 months, just shows that what we was getting for £100 last year is completely, or a lot less than what it was next year, or will be next year. So we know that there are things that we've got in terms of our ambition, in terms of how we take things forward, and improve the estate for the people that live in the estate. So, like you say, none of this is easy, but it is right.
Yeah.
Anybody else in relation to this? It's having had this portfolio myself for a couple of years, and obviously Councillor Johnson, you Councillor Spillman. It's always a difficult one to say we're going to have to ask for more rent. I know we had a period of time where rents are actually going down because of the national government producing the strain on the public purse for housing benefit. It was deemed that obviously that 4%, 5% reduction over X number of years would make such a massive difference, when actually it's the private renting sector that massively increased and ended up costing a lot more.
As Councillor Gledger knows, I was an absolute, a massive fan of that policy.
Yes, you were.
So with
as we all were. As we all were, and I think it's only this year that we're now at the point where the rents, once they're raised, are actually greater than they were 5, 6 years ago.
And that's something that needs to be said. I mean, the rents are, like you say, at a level that they were 5 or 6 years ago. So, and we've got, and it's not just this borough. I work in housing in another borough. I go around other boroughs. We need a great renewal of housing stock. Everyone knows that. And to do that, we need it to be funded. And now we're in a much better position financially, and we can start bringing forward some big plans. And there are some big plans that I've got in the pipeline that I've instructed officers to do on a much larger scale than Thurrock's been able to enjoy for many a year. And I hope to be able to present them to you in due course. But to do them, we have to fund them. And even with this increase, I'm still going to have to make some tough calls over the next year. I mean, we all hope that this inflationary hump is temporary, and I mean, I'm of the opinion that it is due to, largely due to that cessation of raw materials being produced during COVID, and that's a lot what it's got to do with. And that bump, I mean, you work in that sort of sector, don't you? So you know that all too well. I think that will smooth out. I mean, we'll be in a much better position going forward. But like I say, it would be utterly irresponsible for me to sit here and say that we can't put rents up by this amount. I'd have to cut services to ribbons, and we just can't. People deserve better than that. Our tenants deserve better than that. So it is not with any enthusiasm, but I fully support this report.
And of course, we can't forget. You've mentioned about don't want to cut this to ribbons, but there will still be service changes within to make it more efficient, so more money is actually spent on the properties rather than on the headcount, or a process that we currently do that perhaps we don't need to do. You know, I'm not here to discuss all of housing processes. I suppose that's what you're here for, Councillor Spillman, to do in your weekly base touching with the relevant directors. But if you look at table 5, the things that we need to do, you've got carbon reduction requirements. It's got external one, it uses some form of the external cladding, or indeed just to make energy homes, our council homes, more energy efficient, give energy spits out, that goes into the millions. Well, that needs to be funded.
Yeah, and I mean we've got some very. I mean I have been some very exciting news about some new heating systems as well, but that I'll be hopefully bringing to the next. We'll hopefully go to the next ONS, but I'm hoping to make a statement on that soon as well, which is partly government funded. But again, we have to put the money in as well. So there are a lot of exciting projects coming in, but you just, unless you keep pace with the cost of living, you just can't deliver them, and that is just reality. And to pretend otherwise, as you know, it's, the opposition may try to do. Although to be fair to the opposition, they were in the last ONS, they were housing more realistic than I expected them to be. I hope that they show that again at council, because you know we have to meet, we have to keep up with this inflation, otherwise we'll wreck services, not just for this year, but ongoing. Every single year, the base, as we know with the council tax, our base of income will be that bigger percentage less than what it should be, and we'll end up in 4 or 5 years in desperate trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. The number of times we've had to deliver and hear when we're in opposition about if this isn't done this year, it's not just this year where you have the effect, you have that knock-on effect next year, the year after, because we cannot catch up with ourselves without putting a massive inflation stroke, probably law-busting increase, which obviously numbers would see or do. The cost of services, there's a huge amount of electricity that's used in housing services for the communal areas and so on. That price is going to go up the same as it is for everybody else. It can't be avoided. Again, the money doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from the HRA and the collection thereof and the administration thereof.
One thing I will say, I mean, again, and I'm not here to wave around raft of doom. No, not housing is my passion. I've worked in housing for a lot of years, and I want to see fundamental changes and improvements to the way that we're delivering housing in Thurrock. And I've been very lucky that I've been given a much better financial base than both yourself and Councillor Johnson, who had to do the real hard graft when the financing was really tight. So it's a really tough call just to keep things on the track. And now I've been given a bit more financial leeway to make hay while the sun shines, and that's what I intend to do.
I wouldn't say we're making hay in relation to this. This is really about moving forward and actually making sure we've got the money to do the right things to our housing stock and for our tenants, which are approximately, I think, 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 properties in Thurrock is a council property still. So it's still quite a large portfolio. I'm surprised when I speak to some of my neighbours or some of my residents it's a council house, and it's like, and we've got this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. And some of these are structural, some of these are inherent because they've been property since Queen Victoria's time in some certain circumstances, and they just weren't designed for modern sites. So we're going to have to adapt that, and that's why I did kind of mention the climate change requirements, because I was hoping you'd mention a little bit more about the heating systems, but we will look forward to that announcement as we go forward. Anyway, page 184, we have recommendations 1.1 to 1.5 in relation to the increases for the HRA. Are they agreed?
Agreed.